told her dad to stop bad-mouthing her husband or she would get up and leave. He didn't stop, so she stood up and he blocked her exits. Ever since, she's been trying to have a conversation with her parents to talk this through like adults, and her dad says, leave it in the past. But blocking her exit, that is just one of the things that is really concerning to me about her father. Early on, Kira's husband made a lighthearted joke when they were dropping off the kids to get babysat by her parents, and her dad followed them home and exploded at Kira's husband because of this joke. He felt like it was disrespectful. She interrupted her dad and she was like, Dad, if I would have said it, it would have been just fine. And he looked her dead in the eye and said, I only joke with family. This was 2 years into their marriage. From that moment forward, Kira's husband was very reserved and cautious around her dad. Fast forward a few years, they were all at her parents' vacation home, and her dad got upset again at something somebody said, disappeared, so much so that her kids noticed. They came up, asked where grandpa was, and she just said, well, sometimes when he gets upset, he likes to be alone to process things. A few weeks after that, the kids were over playing with grandma and grandpa, and one of her kids just innocently said, like he was connecting the dots during a conversation, oh, kind of like how you like to be alone when you want to process things after you get upset. That's all that it took. He got in his truck, went over to Kira's house, let Kira and her husband know how awful it was that their kid said such a thing, and then he proceeded to go on and on and on a list of grievances of all the things that he didn't like about Kira's husband. He doesn't say hello loud enough. He doesn't talk enough. He isn't warm enough. He is disrespectful. Kira asked for them to get together to talk about it as adults, and they refused. She said, okay, in order for my husband and I to go to your beach house, we have to have 2 rules. Number 1, if you have a problem with someone, address it with that person immediately. Number 2, please give my husband the benefit of the doubt. He is never trying to disrespect you. And her dad said, no one tells me what to do. So Kira and her husband haven't been back to the beach house, but her kids have. A couple years after that, Kira was over at her parents' house to discuss the summer schedule, and her dad just started bad-mouthing her husband. She stood up and she's like, Dad, if you don't quit, I'm leaving. And he didn't stop. So she attempted to leave and he blocked the exits. Eventually, she did get in her car when she said, if you don't let me out of this house, I'm going to call for help. But that's not it. A few weeks after that, they were at a community event. So Kira, her husband, their kids out in public. Her dad got mad about something her husband did, got in his face, started screaming at him in front of their children, so much so that Kira had to step between the 2 men. Now, Kira keeps requesting a family meeting, her husband, her mom and dad, and they just keep saying, leave it in the past. And she wants to know, how do you move forward with people who are not even willing to agree to a meeting? Oh my gosh, I want to walk you through this again, but through your children's eyes. He makes no bones about it that he does not like their dad. When you were on a family vacation, your dad got so upset that your kids actually noticed. And when your kid said something super innocent to your dad, he got upset. You have to imagine that your dad showed some kind of sign that he wasn't happy with what the kid said. That's very confusing for a child when they think they're saying something innocent. He can get so triggered that he can just start rattling off a bunch of things that he doesn't like about their father. He physically blocked his daughter from exiting the house, and in public, in front of everybody, he actually got up in their father's face and was screaming at him, and they had to watch their mom get between the 2 men that are supposed to be protecting them. This does not tell me that this is a man who occasionally loses his cool. This is a pattern. Every single time, the kids are somewhere inside the frame. What I have seen underneath a pattern like this is usually an emotionally immature person, a younger version of a child, stunted, arrested development, where feelings are facts. So if I feel like you're rejecting me, if I feel like you're disrespecting me, that is indeed what you are doing. Also in this pattern, they have a hard time seeing their children as their own separate entities. I think that's pretty evident by the fact that he thought he could force you to continue to listen to him berating your husband like he wasn't done yet. And after all of this, he still has access to his daughter and access to his grandchildren week by week. There's no consequences. There's no incentive to change. Leave it in the past, to me, sounds like give me forever amnesty. I do not have to be accountable for my actions ever. So if this were happening to me, I can't force my dad to take accountability. I can't force him in a room that he doesn't want to come to. This is one of the hardest videos I will be responding to. I've seen this pattern so many times, and the crummy thing about this is that the ego is so fragile that they will tend to pick the ego to protect the ego versus protect the relationship. She needs to be prepared to have her dad pick his ego over his family. And if she's not prepared to lose her family over this, then don't do this. I would take this step though, because my dad is escalating. He has already shown me that he will physically block my exits, and my children are only getting older. They'll start back talking, they'll start showing disrespect. And on paper, in her letter, disrespect is a very, very sensitive thing to her father. I would send a letter, I would not do it in person. I would let him know that the kids and I are stepping back until we can all sit down in a room. So myself, my husband, and both of my parents sit down in a room with a mediator and talk this out like adults. Here's what I would say. Dad, I love you so much. You mean the world to me, and I am so grateful that our kids get to call you Grandpa. What's been happening in recent months has worried me. I hate that our family is falling apart. I don't want that. You and Mom have worked so hard to let this happen. I'm asking if you and Mom would be willing to sit down with me and husband with a mediator so all sides can be heard clearly. This is a really important part for his ego. We want to understand your frustrations in a constructive way, and having a neutral third party will help guide the conversation and make all the difference. I know this is not a comfortable request, but I'm praying that you'll say yes. Until we have this meeting, the kids and I are going to take a step back. Things are only getting more tense, and the kids can't be witnessing what happened last month at the community barbecue. I hope you and Mom agree to the meeting. I love you, and I promise you I'm only doing this to help our family. Again, Kira, you have to be very prepared that your dad is going to choose to protect his ego versus protecting the relationships. That is very, very likely in this scenario. Some people have such a deep-seated fear that they are a rotten individual, that if they take accountability for one small action, it proves that they are garbage and they don't deserve to breathe air. It's the most painful thought they could ever imagine, and they will burn down every relationship they have to avoid that feeling. But let me be very clear. Your children are watching. They're watching how this marriage operates. They're watching who protects who. They're watching how your husband is treated in this family. They're watching how you're treated. They're watching how Grandpa gets to behave with no accountability. Your children are watching, and boundaries are not just about protecting your peace. They're also about breaking cycles. I'm so sorry you are in this spot. This is such a hard spot to be in. Please keep us posted. Thank you for trusting us with your story, and we'll be here if you ever have an update.